Some more folks still coming in. Hello and happy Saturday to everyone in the room. I am just going to warn you right now that I am not only hosting or co-hosting with Steve, that I am also running all of the tech platforms. So anyone who's been in here with me before knows that's not a good thing. So everyone cross your fingers and let's hope for a good day. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. It's really good to see you. Hello to Lucy in Milwaukee and Susan in Idaho and Jane in England and Nancy's Irish Cow in Washington, Amy in DC, Judy, hello, nice to see you. Sheila in Florida, Lisa in Indiana, Alex in Tokyo, back again for day 2. I love it. Tokyo entered our room yesterday for the first time. We are so happy to have you, Alex. Carolyn in Idaho. See, so all our Idahozians are like, darn, we liked being the furthest ones away. Now we're trumped by, oh, that's a bad word, by Tokyo. Annette in California, hello. Greg, the Executive Director of Washington Rebels, glad you're here today. Nora, hey, we've got Nora Rhodes in the room, one of our great singers from this week. Thanks, Nora, for being here. Bonnie in Idaho, hello. Linda, nice to see you. Candace and Candace's little one, hello, nice to see you. Steve in Baltimore, glad you're here with us again. Adele in DC, Anne in New York, back from your trip to Maine, nice to see you. Suzanne in Richmond, Virginia. Dan in Vienna, Virginia. Claudia in DC, nice to see you. Storm in Massachusetts. Anne in the DMV. Janet and Peter in Toronto. Martha in Oregon. Jennifer out at the beach somewhere. And Sarah Glasgow in the DC area. Mary Eagle, Western North Carolina. Terry of Diane and Terry. And lots more folks. Mommy in New Jersey. Lynn in Connecticut, Melinda in Vermont. So glad that all of you are here with us today. I see Jim, I see Beryl, Colin's mom in Chicago. Really glad you guys are all here. Thank you so much for joining today. Welcome to the Washington Rebels Carpe Diem Arts Daily Antidote of Song. If you're new to us, we'd love it if you'd post your state or your country in the chat box that's here and on Facebook. Oh, also hi to everybody on Facebook Live. Thanks for joining us. So for those of you who know this already, I'm sorry to repeat myself, and for anyone who's new, we are on day 166 of singing together, and we do this every day at 12 noon, one song. Yesterday I did some math. I think we are like 6,500 who've actually been in this Zoom room with us, and another like 37,000 who have found us on Facebook Live. So kind of exciting to know that the program is getting a lot of attention and getting out there, and hopefully making lots of people happy every day as we look for little places to have happiness. And speaking of which, yesterday, obviously, there was a very, very big loss in our culture, our nation, our community. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing is a very, very somber thing. I have to say that I feel like it's really hard to think about folks like John Prine, John Lewis, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who've had to leave our nation at a time after working their whole lives towards some notions of social justice or peace, or to have to leave now, I think must be a really hard place to exit. And what we're responsible for, I think, is carrying on the hope, the strength, the action steps that they would continue to take if they were here with us. So I'm actually going to say, instead of a moment of silence today, what we're going to do is take that extra minute, instead of in here quietly, to try to do something today to make a difference somewhere. So that's a task that I'm setting everyone up for. And it's a good day. A Saturday is a good day to take a pause to do something. There's lots of things you can do: voting, calling, voting, texting, and we hope that everyone will find something. So did I say welcome to the Washington Rebels Carpe Diem Arts Daily Antidote of Song? Welcome, everybody. And a couple of links will be going in the chat box. There's going to be a donate link in the chat box if you're able to help support the program. All the money goes to the artists who are leading us in song. My email for comments, questions, suggestions, or to get on our daily Antidote email list. And a huge thank you to me for running the tech. No, okay, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Okay. So today I'm really, really excited to be co-hosting again with Steve Winick of the Library of Congress American Folklife Center. And although I am sad to be hosting the last day of our archive challenge week, which has been ridiculously fabulous, I am also really, really happy to know that we are planning already for additional weeks in the autumn and in the winter. And so hope you'll tune back in for those again. On a side note, yesterday's incredible. I don't know how many people got to be in here yesterday for Saul Paul, but it was just about mind-blowing, knock your socks off, amazing joy and fun. And the Facebook Live video, which I was not running, crashed. So we don't have it on Facebook Live. We do, however, have it on the videos page of our Facebook page. So it's not on live, but it's on video. Anybody with a Facebook account could take that video off of our video page and share it, which means that we will help get it around even without the help of the Facebook Live metric. So I request and ask that you do that. Also, if you want to try and find me on Facebook, I think I'm Joe Rossi 9, because there's 9 more of me out there. If you guys want to try and find me on Facebook, I can help point you in the right direction to find the Saul Paul video. So that was a lot of babbling. I'm going to turn it over to Steve Winick for the hosting and the performing today. And I'm going to be over here quietly bungling the tech.
So Joe mentioned her, being number 9 of her, and there's a funny story there. So those of you who know me on Facebook, I'm Stephen Winick, my full name. And that leads to a situation where a lot of people now who interact with me primarily on Facebook call me Stephen in real life also, which wasn't that normal before that. Most people call me Steve. But the reason for that was that when I joined up on Facebook, there was already a Steve Winick, and his profile picture was a picture of him nude. And I just felt like being confused with him would probably be a bad thing, given my government job and all that. So I decided to use my full name instead. So I'm Stephen Winick on Facebook with a PH. I just mentioned my government job, so we'll segue into that. So I work at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress, which has probably the largest ethnographic archive in the world, one of the largest archives dedicated to folk music and song as well. And we, for about 5 years now, have been doing a program that we call the Archive Challenge. This was dreamed up by my friend Jennifer Cutting. And by the way, your screen probably says that I am Jennifer Cutting, and that's because I'm in her house right now on her computer. So if I'm identified as Jennifer Cutting, that's why. She's actually off in Colonial Beach. I think she's in the room somewhere as well. So Jennifer thought up this idea of the Archive Challenge, which was that we would directly ask artists to perform material from our archive, that is, to learn a song from the archive and perform it in a special showcase at the Folk Alliance International meeting. For years and years, artists have spontaneously learned material from our archive, so that very famous songs like Rock Island Line all come from recordings in our archive. But this was an effort to get people to do it directly, to actually ask people to do it. And it worked so well that first year. We did it in 2015, and we called it the Lomax Challenge because that was Alan Lomax's centenary. So we used the Lomax collections for that. But we then expanded it to all of our collections, and we've been calling it the Archive Challenge. And it's run every year at Folk Alliance since 2015. So that's actually 6 years, including this year. Folk Alliance was back in January, but just before the last thing we did before the pandemic shut us down was to attend Folk Alliance. So we're glad we didn't get the disease there. And it was it's been a wonderful ride, but we thought once the pandemic hit, we thought, how could we continue this process and get people to engage with our collections? And we thought, well, we could have a home archive challenge where people just learn a song, perform it themselves in their homes, make a video or some other record of it, and share it out to their social media. So in this case, we're not collecting videos of people, we're just letting them share them out, and it's kind of an engagement tool. And then, of course, a little bit after that, Revels and Carpe Diem Arts, that is Washington Revels and Carpe Diem Arts, came up with this idea of the daily antidote of song, where they're having a song every single day. And at some point it occurred to me, hey, this would be a great partnership for the Archive Challenge. So that's what we've been doing all this week. We've had artists who've learned a song from the American Folklife Center archive perform it here in the Daily Antidote of Song. So we really want to thank Washington Revels and Carpe Diem Arts for creating this great program. And we want to thank all the terrific artists that we've had this week. Now, I'm performing a double role today because I'm also the performer. And I'm doing a song that's, it's a Revels favorite, so many of you probably know it, but you may know a different version than the one I'm going to sing. So you and I will all be sort of reading along to the lyrics. So it's not the version that I normally sing either. Um, and the reason for this is that I was inspired by a particular field recording in the archive, which after we sing, Joe is going to play you that. But um, it's a film that was made by Pete and Toshi Seeger in 1964 of the McPeak family performing this song. And this song has an interesting history. And I'll talk a little bit more about it after the song, but I'll just say that parts of the song were actually written by a man named Francie McPeak in the 1940s, one verse in particular. And but the song goes back before his involvement with it to an older Scottish song. And so what I'm doing here is I'm singing the McPeak's lyrics exactly for the first three verses. And then I've added my own verse. It was kind of inspired just last night by the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and also just thinking about the daily antidote and what it is we're doing here. And it made me want to put another another verse onto this song. And what I did was I went back to the Scottish original, and we'll talk a little bit about that afterward, and I adapted one of the verses in there. So that's the fourth verse. And if you see your lyrics, I think Joe included my whole note, so it actually says fourth verse could hold for the re-sing, but we'll sing the whole song right through. So this is the song that in Revels is probably normally called Wild Mountain Time, but the McPeak family always called it Will You Go, Lassie Go. And let's get started with the chorus, which I think most of you know. So it's, and we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Time, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? So let's repeat that chorus. And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Time, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? The summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a tower by yon clear crystal fountain. And on it I will build all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? If my true love she were gone, I would surely find another to pull Wild Mountain Thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull Wild Mountain Thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? Oh, the dark times may be long, and the storms may rattle o'er us, So we'll sing another song and build hope into our chorus. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go?
Woo!
All right.
Steve, thank you. That was totally beautiful. And
So that's Will You Go, Lassie, Go, or The Wild Mountain Thyme. And so the recording that I was inspired by is actually a film, which was made in 1964 by Pete and Toshi Seeger. So you all probably know the story of how Pete Seeger was called before the House Un-American Activities Committee and refused to testify about a lot of things. But unlike a lot of people who did what we call taking the fifth in common parlance, meaning to say that they refuse to answer the question on the grounds that they might incriminate themselves, which suggests that possibly they did something illegal that they're not willing to talk about. Pete took the First Amendment. He took the first, which means he said, it is improper for you to be asking me these questions because, in fact, there's no possibility that my associating with other people in any way could be illegal or really anything you have any right to ask about, because the First Amendment establishes that I have the free right to associate with anyone I want. And Congress found him in contempt, and he was convicted. And the conviction was then overturned. And when it was overturned, he got his passport back, and he and Toshi decided to take a trip around the world. And they left in 1963 and returned in 1964. And they went to Africa, to Asia. They went all around the world. And they ended up, the last stop was in Ireland. And they went to the Flaucheol, the music festival there, which was right on the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And then they went up to Belfast to find the McPeak family. And the McPeaks were an interesting lot, and they were just coming to be known for this song, among other songs. But they had been known for quite a long time. In particular, the eldest of the family was a man named Francis McPeak, who was known as Francie. And Francis McPeak, as a very young man, was a piper who competed in uilleann pipe competitions, the Irish complicated Irish bagpipe. And because of that, he's actually was noted by Chief Francis O'Neill, who was the police chief of Chicago in the late 19th century, and who wrote about Irish music, made the most important collection of Irish tunes in existence, and who continued to write about Irish music into the early part of the 20th century. So O'Neill has a book called Irish Minstrels and Musicians, in which Francie McPeak, the original of this family, was mentioned. And so Pete went to find him and his family, and they were known for this song. And Francie wrote one of the verses of the song. And so let's take a look at a film, the film that Pete and Toshi made. Now, this is a version of this film. We don't have this film quite digitized and ready to show people, but it's been shown other times in the past. So this is a version that was shown on Irish TV. And here we're going to see a little bit of this song. Now, Joe, if you could pause that. So if you look at the young guy all the way on the right of your screen, he is Francie McPeak. So the older man all the way on the left of your screen is Francis McPeak the first, who was already in piping competitions in the early part of the 20th century. And he was born in 1885. And so this was, I have to say, Irish TV identified this as 1960. It's actually 1964. And whenever the family tells this story, they say it was 1962, but we know it wasn't because Pete and Toshi didn't leave the country until 1963. And anyway, we know when they were in Ireland. So it's actually 1964. So that's the eldest Francis McPeak on the left of your screen, who was born in 1885. On the far right of your screen is the 22-year-old grandson. That's Francie McPeak the third. The man next to Francie the first is Francie McPeak the second. So he is the man on the second from left is the father of the man all the way on the right. So in 2007, we had a concert at the Library of Congress, and we invited the current version of the McPeak family to come with us and to perform at the library. So Joe is going to show you that video next for a brief moment. But the main person who sings the song in that concert and who plays the banjo in this particular rendition that you'll see is Francie McPeak III, who you saw on the right of your screen at 22 years old. He was 65 at the time of our concert. So there he is with a banjo, and he'll sing a verse of the song for you here. And that's his son, Francie IV, playing the whistle.
Got no sound. The summer time is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain tide rolls around the blooming heather. Where you go, Lassie? The chorus, join in if you know it, please. And we'll all go together to Polwine Mountain time, all around that blue heather. Where you go, Lassie? I will be.
All right. So that was the current version of the McPeak family. And as you saw, as I mentioned, that was Francie McPeak the third, who was singing the song, and he's the grandson of the original. So why do I tell you so much about the McPeaks? It's because that third verse, "If my true love she were gone, I would surely find another," is actually not in any other versions of the song. It was, according to the family, written by Francie, and it was written after his wife died, and then about 10 years after that, when he realized that he was falling in love with someone else, and he realized that he was finally ready to move on, and he thought he could write a verse about that. And if you trace back the history of the recordings of the song, the very first time it was recorded by Francis McPeak, the first, was for a radio program. And he said in a little brief interview that came before before his appearance, he said, "So I learned this song from my uncle, and I think maybe," he said, "it was a Scottish song. But to tell you the truth," he said, "I didn't get the third verse from him." So that's all that Francis McPeak himself ever said about writing the song. But the family folklore is that he wrote that third verse in honor of his falling in love again after having suffered that loss. And so the McPeak family feels a great connection to the song and feels like they have some ownership of that verse. And so I thought it would be nice to sing the song exactly the way they do it. And I noticed some definite differences in the lyrics. For one thing, you notice that most people say something like, "I will build my love a bower by unclear crystal fountain, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain." But theirs is somewhat, it's cool, but it's somewhat weirder too. "I will build my love a tower by unclear crystal fountain, and on it I will build all the flowers of the mountain." So an unusual phrasing and unusual lyrics. So I thought I would keep their lyrics. And then to write that last verse, so Francie was correct. Of course, it was a Scottish song, it seems, in origin. There are versions of this in Scottish oral tradition. And the best known was written down by Robert Tannahill, the Paisley poet. And Tannahill's verses include one that I adapted into the Ruth Bader Ginsburg verse, as we might call it, or the Daily Antidote verse. So I have had a little technical glitch here. I'm going to take just a second to handle something on my end, and then we can sing that verse again, as someone has asked for.
Thank you, Steve. So I just want to point out, while I'm operating all of the tech, that Steve is the one who's having the technical glitch.
Yes, that's right.
Just kidding. Thank you, everybody. And I always mean to say this and I forget. If there's anybody that has to drop out because you need to get on to other things, of course, you're always welcome to go. It does not hurt our feelings to see you disappear off the screen. We do not admit you in the future just to pay you back a little bit. But right.
Just kidding.
Yeah, you ready?
No, it's going to take me just another second.
Perfect. So I just popped on Facebook all of the links that are in the chat today here, and I'm about to switch over to this screen to put in the links for the McPeak video and the Library of Congress video that you saw here, so that you can watch them at some point today if you want to. The Library of Congress video is about an hour and some long and absolutely great. And then also we'll include it in the email tomorrow.
Great. So yeah, so apologies if I sounded a little distracted there at the end of my telling you about Francie McPeak and all that. It's because I was trying to handle this tech issue and also tell you more about the song. But as I said, it's well known in Scottish oral tradition, comes from, many people think it may have originated with Robert Tannahill's writing. And so I adapted that last verse from the Robert Tannahill lyrics to the song. But I really wanted to honor the McPeak family for all they have done to bring this song to us. And of course, Pete and Toshi Seeger, hugely important people in our collective history. Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the Daily Antidote of Song, all of those things are being noted in this last verse. So before I sing it, let me one more time thank Washington Revels and Carpe Diem Arts and my partner in crime, Jennifer Cutting, who I think is in here somewhere with us, for helping to establish this whole week of great performances of the Archive Challenge. So this is, again, the last verse, and we can start with the chorus again. And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme. All around the blooming heather will you go, lassie, go. Oh, the dark times may be long, and the storms may rattle o'er us, so we'll sing another song and build hope into our chorus. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme. All around the blooming heather will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme. All around the blooming heather will you go, lassie, go?
Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. And you know, people mentioned that it was Talk Like a Pirate Day, so I also brought along my pirate hat just in case. So, but I didn't talk like a pirate except to say RBG, which is a very present on my mind today and also in the song. So thank you all once again from the American Folklife Center, from Washington Revels, from Carpe Diem Arts. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jennifer, to both you and Steve for the creation of this project and for this partnership. It's been incredible. And thank you to everybody in the room for being here. It's just so great to see all of you every day and to leave this room with all of you in my heart every day. And someday we're going to figure out a way for all of you to meet each other in some context or another. Thank you
it's been nice to see so many of your faces that I don't see as often anymore. Judy Cook, folks who've moved to other places, but also all my Revels pals, Amy, and just everyone who we can't see each other because we're sort of, you know, stuck in our homes so much. So love to see you all. Thanks so much. Hey, Nora, it's good to see you again today. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, and thank you, Nora, for being here. So Nora Rhodes, for anybody who missed it, was our singer, maybe 2 days ago, maybe 3, I can't remember. And you can find it on the Facebook Live on the date of her song. And if you missed it, it was tremendously beautiful and you should absolutely get it. And thank you again, Nora.
And I need to tell you that Figgy, the folklore cat, was very good and didn't sing along too much. Right, Figgy?
We were actually hoping Figgy was going to be the one to talk like a pirate.
That's right. We were hoping he was gonna vocalize because he's quite skilled, but he can
All right.
off pitch sometimes. So
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook Live. So goodbye, everybody on Facebook Live, and I'm going to push this button right here, which is supposedly going